we want to find out their impressions. But when we start doing the quantitative of availability, we need to know that they are certified. And the only way, like if somebody says I'm African American owned, I don't know that unless you're certified. Right. So here's the funny part. When you're doing availability, you can only use firms that are certified to identify them as minority or women. Because if we only use self-identified firms, we don't know whether they're really, unless they're certified. Like, and this particularly happens with white women-owned firms, because there are a lot of firms where they say they're women-owned, but it's really the husband who owns it. And so until they go through the certification process, you don't know for sure. And so, and believe me, I learned this, Thomas, the hard way. I did a study for Fulton County one time that was a gender study, and I used their file that had self-identified firms. And when I finished the analysis, they went crazy. They were like, this is crazy, because it showed that 45% of their firms were women-owned firms. And they said, that's not true. And then I went back and reran it, and it was correct. And they said, oh, you can't rely on that file that we gave you because that's got self-identified firms in it. And I will tell you that whenever you get a file with self-identified firms who aren't certified, so they're uncertified, but they're saying I'm Black owned, or I'm Asian owned, or I'm Hispanic owned. Whenever I've done an analysis like that, it has always been way off. So the only way you're going to know is that they're certified. However, sometimes our client says, I want to know the firms out there who say they're minority or women-owned firms. So then a lot of times we'll give them an appendix that says, these are all the firms, this is what availability would look like if all the firms who claim to be minority and women were included in availability. By the way, another reason we do that, a legitimate reason for doing that, is sometimes the jurisdiction has a problem with certification. For whatever reason, a lot of firms aren't getting certified. And we'll hear that in anecdotal, and in the survey, a lot of firms will say, well, I'm not certified. And then you say, why? And then they've got a whole lot of reasons why they're not certified. And then we begin to understand that maybe that one of our recommendations is you've got to help firms get certified. But when we're doing availability for purposes of a factual predicate, if we were to use uncertified firms, you would not have probably a balanced outcome. Okay, I'll do availability again. Yeah, right. So we use a lot of different ways to reach out to firms, because you get different kinds of responses, and you get, like, we do the anecdotal interviews, they're like case studies. Like, let me get a whole view of one firm. And so we do 30 of those. And then we also try and make sure those are very evenly. So we get 5 African American, 5 Asian, 5 of this, 5 of that. We do that because we really want to go in depth, spend a lot more time. These interviews are at least a half hour, some of them an hour, where we get real in-depth case studies. So that's the interviews. Then the public hearings are when the public can come, and without one-on-one interviews, it's an open forum. Oh, by the way, the one-on-one interviews are random. And the reason we make them random is because when you randomly select, that means that you're not getting one point of view or another. These are random, so theoretically, if a whole bunch of people say one thing is a problem, it's probably a problem because we didn't pick them out of a hat. Whereas at a public hearing, like one organization could just get all their membership to turn out, and it would skew the results. So public hearings are open forum, so everybody can tell us what they think, but we understand it's an open forum, and therefore you could get, like, the public hearings, very few white male firms come to a public hearing. So you're really heavily going to get minority and women input. And then some places, like, only the Black firms will come to the public hearing. So you're really not getting a balanced viewpoint from a public hearing. But when we say it's a public hearing, everybody knows that we're getting input, but it could be skewed because it's a public hearing. So then we do focus groups, because now, if by the time we do focus groups, we've had interviews, we've got the survey, we've had the informational meeting where we get a little bit from people at the information, we've had these public hearings, and now we've heard all this stuff, but now we want to hone in on some things. Like, we hear this a lot. What do you mean about that? Like, maybe we got a really high number that have said they felt discriminated against. Well, what do you do with that unless you're able to say, okay, we got a very high number of firms who said they felt discriminated against by our client. Why do you think we got that response? Then in the focus group, they can tell us lots of things. And also the focus groups allow us to get firms in a room and have them interact with each other. And we get the dynamic. I mean, we've had some focus groups that have been pretty, like, negative, where like we've had focus groups where, like, one ethnicity will say, like, you don't belong here. Like, this is not about you. We've been here a long time and we're the ones who, so then you go, oh, that's what's going on here. So they're just different ways to get information so that we can tell a better story at the end. Right. And the survey comes, well, usually it's interviews, then the survey. Then the public hearings kind of overlap the survey so that we can get people at the public hearing to fill out the survey. And so public hearings and surveys are kind of around the same time ending. And then the focus groups, they usually have a week or two so the people can kind of figure out what they've heard. And then they do the focus groups, and then they draft the chapter. Right. 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 Okay, you're welcome. All right, well, we'll talk soon, and then I'll plan. I'm thinking, should I just do availability at the data meeting? Oh, yeah, that's right, policy map. Okay, so you and I will do availability at our meeting. Okay, great. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.